Outside a small town along the southeastern border of Kansas, down a long gravel road, a dirt track led to a small weathered camping trailer surrounded by weeds. The door's hinges barely secured it to the frame, and the tinny voices of Eddie Arnold and Patsy Cline drifted out the window from a plastic Philco radio on the countertop. A small picnic table sat outside the door to the trailer, and beyond the trailer, a field of wheat just turning golden. The trailer was so small it only accommodated one occupant. Roberto had long ago stopped traveling with the carnivals, but on a shelf in the trailer were the tools of his trade. He was a tattoo artist. He wasn't just a tattoo artist, he was one of the best there ever was. He didn't advertise, but customers found him through word of mouth, usually because they wanted some sort of unique design that no other tattoo artist could execute. On a Thursday, just after midday, the sun was hot and dust devils swirled in the distance. Roberto sat at the table outside his trailer, wiping his brow as he watched a man walking up the road toward his trailer. He thought the man might simply be a transient passing through, but when the man reached the dirt track to the trailer, he turned and walked toward it. He had a 5-day beard and his jeans were frayed at the hem, but he spoke with an educated and articulate manner. "Are you Roberto?" "Yes, that's me." "I'm William. I hear you're pretty good with tattoos." "I spent 30 years working in the carnivals, yes." "I'd like a tattoo." William dropped his knapsack to the ground and fished out a black and white photograph of a woman. "That's Norma. She left me." "That's tough. Good-looking woman. You want me to do her face?" "Where? On your arm?" William pointed to his left breast, right over his heart. "Right here. Maybe put some roses around it. Make it real nice. It's got to be special. It's got to be lifelike. It's got to be the best one you have ever done." "That's a tall order. Gonna cost you $10. "That's pretty steep. That's more than I was expecting." "Well, I'm one of the best. You can go get a tattoo done for less by any old tattoo artist in some fly-by-night carnival, but it won't be as good as mine. There was a time I was known all over the country. The carnivals used to fight over me. They even put my name and photo on some of their publicity posters." He went into the trailer and came back with a binder of carnival publicity flyers and client photos. "Here, let me show you. That's me. I was younger then." In one of the client photos, a tiger drawn on a man's bicep looked like it could jump right out at you. Real lifelike, not everybody can do that. I used to have folks lined up outside of my carnival trailer. William hesitated for a moment. "All right, I've got just a little more than $10 on me, but I want it done right." "Okay, then take off your shirt and sit up here on the end of this table so I don't have to lean over too much, and I'll go in and get my stuff." "You want to do it out here?" "Ain't room inside. I used to have a bigger trailer back when I worked the carnivals. Don't worry, I got some stuff to clean the tattoo with so nothing gets in it." Roberto looked at William's pale, hairless tattoo and stopped for a moment. "Guess I won't need the electric shaver. Ever had a tattoo done before?" "No." "Some first-timers find it a little uncomfortable. It smarts a little." "That's all right." Roberto went into the trailer and came back with his tattoo pen, a couple of bottles of colored ink, and some disinfectant. One of the bottles was unlabeled. He wiped William's chest down with the disinfectant, then plugged the tattoo pen into an outlet on the side of his trailer and went to work. He set the photo on the table where he could see it and used a thin marker to sketch the design on William's chest, taking his time before he picked up the tattoo pen. With the tattoo pen buzzing, Roberto carefully traced the design as William winced. "Hold still." "It stings." "Of course it does, but if you keep flinching, I'll mess it up." It was slow work because it was an intricate design with very artful shading. Tattooing a specific face was always more complicated than the stylized templates he sometimes used. After a while, William asked if he was almost finished. "If you want me to get it right, it's going to take a while." When he was finished, Roberto poured some antiseptic on a small cloth and wiped the tattoo area again. "Shit!" roared William. "Yeah, it stings, don't it? But you don't want to get some kind of infection in there. Carnival inspector used to ride me about staph infection. I could never figure out how the carnival staff was going to get infected from my tattoos." Taping a piece of gauze over the area, he advised, "Keep this bandage on there for a few days so no dirt gets in it." A few days later, when the redness and bruising subsided, William stood in front of the mirror in his hotel room. Roberto had indeed tattooed a perfect likeness of Norma on William's breast. It was so lifelike it took his breath away. For a moment he thought he saw Norma's eyes fluttered, but no, he must be mistaken. He smiled even though Norma left him for another. Now she would always be with him, right over his heart. Roberto was right. William was indeed a transient, wandering from town to town with one change of clothes and a bedroll in his knapsack. His funds were nearly depleted, so he checked out of his motel and walked into town. He strolled its main street until he came upon the grocery store with a sign in the window. They were looking for someone to stock the shelves in the evening. William opened the door, walked in, and found the owner. "You looking for some help? I saw the sign in the window." The owner thought William looked a little rough and almost dismissed him. "You look like you haven't shaved in a week." "I'll shave as soon as I get a chance." Can you lift 50 pounds? "I'm too old to be doing that." "Yes, sir, I can." The owner paused for a second skeptical look. Underneath the stubble he saw an honest face. "Can you read and write?" "Got to be able to read the labels and mark the inventory tallies." "1 year of college, sir." "1 year of college? What you doing out tramping on the roads?" "I guess I just had to move on." The manager took a long pause and rubbed his chin. "Well, no one else asked about the job, so let's give it a try. Show up tonight at 5 and I'll show you what needs to be done." "Don't suppose you got a room in the back somewhere where I can sleep, just until I find a place? I'm almost out of money, got just enough to eat on for a week or so. I can get a room as soon as I get paid." "There's a storeroom with a cot in the back. I use it sometimes when I need a nap. There's a sink with warm water so you can wash." "Thanks, I'll be back later." William returned at 5 o'clock, and the manager showed him the storeroom where he could sleep, the back room where the stock was kept, and he showed him how to stock the shelves. "Check the dates on the packages and remember, first in, first out. I'll lock the door. If you got someplace to go before I get in tomorrow, the door will lock behind you. If you need me, there's a phone behind the counter, and the number is taped up next to it." William finished stocking the shelves, headed to the back room, moved the mop and bucket, and laid out his bedroll on the cot. As he drifted off to sleep, he thought he heard a tiny voice. "You're a loser, you know that?" William woke for a moment, but he thought he'd only been dreaming and went back to sleep. "You're a loser." That voice. He knew that voice. William got up and splashed some water on his face to clear his head. He looked in the mirror and saw Norma's image on his chest. She was speaking to him. Her face frowned and her lips moved as she taunted him. "Whatever made you think you could make something of yourself? Did you think college was going to turn you into something special?" "Don't be like that, Norma." "Don't be like what?" "Like that. You know I was only trying to make sure I could give you everything you needed." "Wasting time in college? Who needs that? There are lots of good jobs out there. Why spend money on some hoity-toity college?" "The GI Bill was paying for most of it." "So what? If you'd gone to work instead of putting your nose in all those books, we wouldn't have had to scrimp so much." "What, keep working at your father's construction company?" "Carpenters make good money. You could have worked your way up." "But I'm not cut out for that." "Well, for heaven's sake, you're afraid of a little work? Good night." With that, Norma's image went still, and her voice was silenced. In the morning, William convinced himself it was simply a dream. Of course it was. Tattoos can't talk, no matter how lifelike they are. He dressed himself and shaved as he promised the store manager. Before the store manager arrived, he set out on Main Street, turned off on a side street, and encountered an old house undergoing a rehab. Here, he thought, was another opportunity to make a few more dollars toward renting a room. William located the foreman and asked if there was any work. "You ever done any framing? We're putting on an addition here. I used to work for my father-in-law's construction company. Well, we could use some help for a couple of days. I'll pay you $10 a day." It was hot, so William took off his shirt and joined the crew framing a new screened-in porch for the house. Richard, one of the crew members, saw the new tattoo and whistled. "Wow, is that your girl?" "That's Norma. She left me," William said sadly. "Well, lots of other girls in town. Maybe you'll see one you like." He turned to grab his tool belt. "Fat chance," Norma barked. Richard turned back. "What was that?" Black pants. That guy over there with the circular saw. He's wearing black pants." "Where?" "Oh, he's gone now. Pretty hot to be wearing black pants." William reached for his shirt to cover the tattoo, but he was too late. "You didn't listen to me, did you?" said Norma. "You could have kept working at Dad's construction company, but you had to go off and find yourself in college. Well, you found yourself all right, right back on a construction crew, right where you started, but 100 miles from home. Hey, who's he?" "What the hell?" Richard was staring at the tattoo of Norma on William's chest. "That tattoo just winked at me, and it's talking." Norma was always a flirt, William explained. "Tattoos don't do that. Where'd you get that tattoo? Come, guys, look at this. Where'd you get that tattoo?" Several members of the construction crew gathered around. "Well, ain't you a handsome-looking bunch?" Norma smiled coquettishly and batted her eyes. "Now there's some real men doing some real work. You some kind of ventriloquist or something? How'd you make your mouth move?" At that point, Norma pursed her lips and sent Richard a big smooch. The entire crew laughed, and William was embarrassed. Even though it was hot, he put his shirt back on to avoid further distraction. The crew hooted and laughed. "Come on, man," said Richard. "Tell us how you did that." But Richard told them only that he asked the tattoo artist for the best tattoo he ever created. By 4 o'clock, the crew had the new porch framed and ready to add the roof and screens the next day. William headed back to the grocery store to restock the shelves. It was a fine sunny day, and as he approached the grocery store, he noticed a lovely young woman with dark hair and a yellow dress standing under the green and white striped awning of the store. He stopped in his tracks so he could take in this vision for a few moments. He stopped perhaps a little too long because she spotted him. "You looking for something?" "I'm William. I do some part-time work here at the store." "I'm Francie. My Uncle Ed owns the store. I help out sometimes. I was just about to go in and clean up before I went to work. I was at another job." "Nice to meet you." Francie smiled. "Nice to meet you." William went into the store and nearly knocked over a box of oranges as he turned his head back to take another look through the window. He went to the back room and washed up. Then, hoping Francie might still be around when he came out, he changed into his one set of clean clothes and started checking the shelves to see what needed to be restocked. As he surveyed the third aisle, Ed came down the aisle, checking the prices on the canned goods, followed by Francie. "Well now, don't you clean up well? Clean shaven and shiny as a new dime." "He sure does, Uncle Ed. I bet all the other girls would be jealous if he took me to the movies." "Well, I'm sure he's a fine man, but right now he's got a job to do, so let's not be getting in his way. You did a good job yesterday evening, William. When I came in this morning, there wasn't a thing out of place." "Thank you, sir." There was a small voice. "Who's that girl? Some floozy?" What was that?" asked Ed. Those peaches up front, they sure look juicy," said William. "They just came in this morning. Help yourself to one if you like. A reward for a job well done." When William got paid, he found himself a room in town. Each afternoon he would greet both Ed and Francie when he came into the store. Francie would give him a big smile, After a couple of weeks, he had a few dollars in his pocket, and William asked Francie if she really did want to go to the movies. "Well, sure. There's a new one playing down the street with Humphrey Bogart. I just love Bogart. It's about two people on a riverboat in Africa. It's got Katharine Hepburn in it, too." On Saturday evening, William met Francie at the theater where African Queen was playing. When the movie was over, William walked Francie home as they talked about their favorite scenes from the movie. When they reached Francie's house, the porch light was on. "That means my uncle's waiting up for me. I'd better go right in." She thanked him, giggled, and curtsied in jest. "I had a nice time," she said. "I did too. Maybe we can do it again." "I'd like that." As he walked back to his room, William again heard the tiny voice mocking him. "Well now, isn't she a little darling? Oh, you know she'll never replace you, Norma. You'll always be right here with me." He patted his left breast. "Well, just pine away then, for all the good it'll do you." As he went to bed, William began to think maybe he had it wrong. Perhaps it was no use pining for Norma if she didn't want him. He needed to make a change and look at things differently. "I must say goodbye to Norma," he thought. "I must find someone new who actually cares for me." The next day he went to visit Roberto again. When he arrived, Roberto was sitting outside his trailer with a cigarette, half an inch of ash on the end. Roberto flicked the ash off into an ashtray. "You come for another tattoo? I can do a snake wrapped around your arm if you like." "No, I've come about the other tattoo you did a few days ago. It talks to me, and sometimes it attracts too much attention. I never heard of a talking tattoo before. What did you do?" "I just did what you asked. I made it lifelike, and it was the best one I ever did." "You say it talked?" "Well, I guess I put a little extra in it." Then he smiled with a knowing look. "Extra what?" "That's my secret." "I've changed my mind. I don't want the tattoo anymore. I'm done with Norma. Can you take it off?" "Oh, no, I can't do that. That tattoo's permanent, at least until you do something about it." As William walked back down the road to town, he heard the small voice again mocking him. "Well, honey bunch, I guess you're stuck with me. Good luck finding someone else with me plastered on your chest." The next Saturday, William took Francie to the movies again. After that, every other week they went to see a film. Francie's Uncle Ed offered William a full-time position at the store. That meant they could stop at the diner after the movie for coffee and pie and talk for a while. Each time William brought Francie home, she would step a little closer to William, trying to encourage a goodnight kiss. But she could just barely hear a little voice laughing somewhere. That was enough to break the moment. Each time, William would slap the left side of his chest and say, "Mosquito." One night, Francie was determined to take the initiative. As she and William approached her door, she moved closer than ever before, and before anything else could happen, she tilted her head up and gave him a warm kiss on the cheek. He was so astonished and caught up in the moment that he took Francie in his arms and kissed her. This time, as they closed their eyes and kissed, they thought they heard a tiny cough coming from somewhere. "What was that?" "I heard someone cough," said Francie. It must have been someone down the street. As William walked home, he could think of nothing but that kiss. He rubbed his cheek, trying to remember the feeling. Still, a tear trickled down his cheek. He was torn between his devotion to Norma and the excitement of Francie's first kiss. The night was silent. Norma did not mock him. Getting ready for bed, he took off his shirt and saw that the tattoo had faded considerably. On Norma's left cheek, a tear was streaming down, and she whimpered slightly. That was when he knew he had changed his course. Each day for a week, the tattoo grew more and more faint until it was gone.